Good morning, everyone. In this video, we are going to go through the writing that you are going to be working on this week with our novel, Wonder. We're going to go back through a particular part in the novel. This part is immediately after Augie overhears Jack and some of the other kids talking about him and talking about the way that he looks. We're going to reread a part of the chapter titled Names. And after we've gone back through that section together, we're going to look at our writing question. So you can follow along with me as I reread part from the chapter Names in Wonder. Rat Boy, Freak, Monster, Freddy Krueger, E.T., Gross Out, Lizard Face, Mutant. I know the names they call me. I've been in enough playgrounds to know kids can be mean. I know. I ended up in the second floor bathroom. No one was there because first period had started and everyone else was in class. I locked the door to my stall and took off my mask and just cried for I don't even know how long. Then I went to the nurse's office and told her I had a stomach ache, which was true because I felt like I had been kicked in the gut. Nurse Molly called Mom and had me lie down on the sofa next to her desk. 15 minutes later, Mom was at the door. "Sweetness," she said, coming over to hug me. "Hi," I mumbled. I didn't want her to ask anything until afterward. "You have a stomach ache?" she asked, automatically putting her hand on my forehead to check my temperature. And as the chapter goes on, we know that Augie does go home from school early that particular day, but he does not tell his mother or his father about the mean things that Jack and the other kids were saying. What we are going to be writing about today is we are going to think about how Augie's feeling in this moment of the story. So, after reading this passage, we need to infer how August, the main character, is feeling at this moment. Why do you think he's feeling that way? And we're going to use details from the text to support our answer in writing. Whenever we get ready to write about something that we've read, we want to do some planning. So you are going to be writing down evidence that we find from the text, what that evidence means, and why that matters. And you will be using your Say, Mean, Matter chart to jot this information down. If you do not have a copy of the Say, Mean, Matter graphic organizer because you are virtually learning from home, then you can use a regular sheet of paper and you can draw a 3-column chart, label one column Say, label the middle column Mean, and you can label that last column Matter. And then you can write the information on your piece of paper as you follow along. As we fill out this chart, you will need to pause the video so that you can write your information as we go. The first thing that we need to do is we need to find some evidence from the text, something that the text says that helps support how we think Augie is feeling in this moment. Well, one thing that I noticed at the very beginning of this chapter were those names Rat Boy, Freak, and Monster. So this would be a good piece of evidence to use in our writing. According to the text, Augie has been called names like Rat Boy, Freak, and Monster. Go ahead and fill this in on the first box under the column Say. As you are writing down what the text says, we need to think about what does this evidence actually mean? Well, I know that he gets called names like this when people see his face and they notice the physical differences that he has. So under the column Mean, you're going to write, this occurs when people see his face and notice his physical differences. But when I'm writing about what I'm reading, it's very important that I explain why this piece of text evidence matters. How does it fit in with our bigger picture? Well, as a result of these names, Augie feels hurt, and it makes him feel ashamed of the way that he looks. So under the column Matter, we can write, as a result of these names, Augie feels hurt and ashamed of how he looks. I'm going to go back to my passage and see if I can find another piece of text evidence. Is there something else in the passage that the text says which could help us understand a little bit more about how Augie is feeling? Another thing that the text says was that Augie ended up in the second floor bathroom. Okay, well, what does this evidence mean? Well, this evidence kind of shows us that when Augie gets hurt, he tries to hide. So underneath that column Mean, we can write in, this example shows how Augie tries to hide when his feelings are hurt by things that were said. Oftentimes, when people get upset, they don't really want others to see them crying, and they don't want other people to know. So they choose to go hide where people can't see. Well, why does this matter if Augie hides in the bathroom? Well, I think it matters because I can imagine Augie really doesn't want any of those kids to know that their words hurt them. Sometimes when we show bullies that they've upset us, it actually encourages the bullies to do it more. So I imagine Augie doesn't want these kids to know that his feelings have been hurt. So after you've copied down your second piece of text evidence, what it means and why it matters, let's see if we can find a third piece of evidence from the passage to support our thinking for how Augie is feeling. So I know that he ends up in the bathroom, but the passage also goes on to say that Augie actually went to the nurse's office and said he had a stomach ache. Well, what does this mean? Well, I know that sometimes kids might do this if they're trying to get out of school. Sometimes kids pretend that they're sick if they're trying to avoid something at school. Well, why would this matter? Well, in Augie's case, and in the case of a lot of other kids, this is important because it can help to show that bullying actually causes kids to miss school sometimes. We are going to use our Say, Mean, Matter chart to help us plan out a writing about the book Wonder. Tomorrow, we will use our chart to continue working on this writing. So after you have finished copying down your pieces of evidence for what the text says, what it means, and why it matters, you can put this chart in your writing folder to look back over and use tomorrow.